We're now in the final stretch of the World Cup. The semifinals are set for Tuesday, and to help us break down the matchups is Jeff Rueter of The Athletic. Jeff, welcome back. You did such a great time. We had to bring you back. You did such a great job the first time. We brought you back for penalty kicks.
Hey, why not? It's not a World Cup without penalties, is it? Pour one out for Harry Kane, by the way. That was tough.
Oh, yeah.
Tough
I'm a Chelsea fan, so I love that he missed it. Sorry to all my Three Lion fans out there. All right, Croatia. They're in it. They found themselves in a semifinal in the last two tournaments. They knocked out Brazil last round, but can they pull off the upset and send Messi home from his possible last World Cup?
Yeah, we are now to the point where no matter what happens with Argentina, there are going to be tears, for better or for worse. Big for them to kind of withstand that pressure from the Netherlands on their side. I think that was by far their toughest test of the tournament, not counting a group stage defeat in the first game, because they had plenty of time to come back from that over the next two. So it showed some good resilience on their part. Again, teammates of Messi's actually stepping up. But with Croatia, you have the best organized team in the tournament, in my opinion. You have a team that has been playing together for years and years, a coach that they've completely bought into since he took over halfway through 2018 qualifying. And I think that the crucial part for Croatia is going to be just to nullify Argentina's whole attack. And I'm not just talking about Messi on this one, because that's a mistake other opponents have made, is to completely just focus on the one player. And if you're able to get Argentina feeling themselves, play with some of that kind of beautiful interplay that they can do at times, it's going to be a tough day for Croatia. But if they can get them frustrated, if they can get more players on yellow cards, there are going to be two players who are suspended for Argentina who are regular starters on their back line, one on the left, one on the right. So there are going to be some opportunities to catch players who are not quite as into the flow of this tournament, who are coming in and making spot starts. So Croatia has a chance. The longer that they keep it close, I think that the much better chance they have to, do what they do so often and just pull it off at the final minute. But like I said last time, I picked Argentina to win the whole thing, so I can't back down from that. But I do see this being an incredibly close game. And this will feel every bit just like a final, in my opinion.
Yeah, the last time you picked Argentina, and you said it with your chest, so you definitely have to stay with it. But you just said something about how they're the most organized team. Morocco, they're the tournament darlings this year, but they're going up against tournament favorites, France. What does France have to do to avoid being upset?
Well, I think France needs to reaffirm that their performance against England was their worst performance that they'll have at this tournament, because they looked downright mortal in that game after looking so untouchable for the majority of this tournament to date. I think that they come in with an immense amount of pressure. They throw as much gold as they can onto their jersey because they're the champions. They're playing like it. They're feeling it. Kylian Mbappe is playing like he is the best player in the world. And that's what you need from a team that's going to win that tournament. But, with Morocco, again, they're playing with house money. They have the entire world cheering for them, unless it's a fan from Croatia, Argentina, and France. They've got that collective resolve, but they are carrying a lot of knocks. They do have a lot of players who did actually miss that game against Portugal due to some injury. They've got some challenges, both in defense and in the attack, and actually in the midfield as well, depending on who's available. So, it's one of those where France loses in the semifinal, they'll see it as a disappointment. I think that they and Argentina are the two teams that would view it as such. And with Morocco, if they make it to a final, they're already the first African team to ever make it to a semifinal. So if they can go ahead and get through, I think as long as they're able to keep the game contained, as long as they're able to keep Mbappe from finding all those pockets of space, and as long as they're able to hang in there with the midfield, which is going to be the weakest part for France, if Tchouaméni has now picked up an injury and he's training separate from the rest of the team as of this morning, as reported by The Athletic, that's going to be pretty crucial for them as well. So I think this could be a close one, closer than people are expecting, but I think at this point, France has shown the quality, has shown the resolve that they don't always bring into a tournament like this. And I think that they are a much further favorite in this game than Argentina is in the other.
All right, because when you're talking about Morocco, they shut down Times Square here in New York. Rapper French Montana, who is Moroccan, everyone was outside. I walked through it for a little bit, and it was something to see. I think I was trying to shimmy and dance a little, I'm a little Moroccan dance myself. So, all right, you said that France should pull that off, and I know people hate predictions. So we're saying France, Argentina in the final. Who takes that one on Sunday, if both teams make it?
Right. Yeah. I think at this point, just kind of in order of who I would see them winning it, I think it would be Argentina first choice, and then France, regardless of matchup. If they were against Croatia, if it's a repeat of last year's final, I think that they would have a really tough time with this French team yet again. who does have an athletic advantage in Croatia, 4 years older than they were last time around. They're playing a little slower as well as a result. They haven't quite had that rising generation come up to kind of change the tempo of how they play. And then again with Morocco, I mean, look, it's so hard to overlook a team that's made it this far, and it's absolutely no disrespect, but if they pull it off, it would be the biggest surprise win in World Cup history. Just purely if you look at the expectations from all of these teams that have gone in and ended up winning tournaments in the past, there hasn't been anything quite like Morocco yet. So you want to see it. I mean, the romantic in sports wants to see Morocco pull this off, but I think that there also is just as romantic of an alternative to let Messi get his kind of crowning achievement right as he's at the tail end of his career.
Yeah, that would truly be like a send-off story. It's like Derek Jeter. It's like Michael Strahan winning a Super Bowl in his final game. So let's switch. Talk about the USA, because a major talking point during the World Cup was Team USA having Gio Reyna on the bench for most of the time. He's one of their most talented and creative players. But now it appears that he was sent home for his attitude. Like, what do you make of this situation?
Yeah, it was it's a case where when you have a generation of young players who are told that they're the future of the sport for their country, for a country that's as large and as media, consumed and as social media consumed as the United States, there's going to be an immense amount of pressure, hype, but also praise for a lot of players like this. And I think that when they enter a tournament like this, Gio Reyna included, this is their big moment. They see this as, I have worked to get to this stage, and once I show up to the stage, they'll give me all the minutes I want. It didn't come as easy for Gio Reyna. He has the misfortune where his best position in a 4-3-3 setup is the same best position as Christian Pulisic, and he's never going to supplant Christian Pulisic, at least on current form. Give it 4 years, give it 8, we'll see what happens. But I think at that point when he was going to be a reserve option, he was upset about it, understandably so. Talented young player, and he's a regular player for Borussia Dortmund as well, so it's not that he hasn't been tested in big moments in the Champions League and the Bundesliga. At the same point, if a player's character is not going to be in line with what the team needs in that tournament, if they're going to be off thinking about something else, this has happened in the past with Italy, it's happened in the past with France, in past World Cups, where you will have these teams of players, star players, who are so used to being central figures that they don't know how to kind of fade into the background a little bit more and share that responsibility. So, it's a learning moment. It's a teaching moment for a young player, a very talented young player, who I would imagine still has a very bright future for club and country alike. But it does help give a little bit more context, which we were sorely lacking throughout the tournament. And honestly, it makes complete sense why something like this would be tried to keep under wraps by the team, because you don't want this sort of thing getting out there in the public while you're in the middle of a tournament.
Yeah, it sounds like Gio's going to do what the young college football players do when they're not getting playing time. They hit the transfer portal, but there's not any of that for World Cup soccer. All right, let's put on your manager hat right now. If Greg Berhalter does return, let's say you're him, you're Coach Berhalter. Do you think Gio has a future with your U.S. men's national team?
For mine, he does. And I think that a big part of this is you need to test a player and make sure that they're fully bought in. And unfortunately, this is going to be a case study where if Greg Berhalter does come back, which is not yet determined, and frankly, I would imagine that this whole saga will now play into U.S. soccer's decision whether or not they will retain Greg Berhalter for the 2026 cycle. I think that he's still such a bright, talented, singular figure in the pool where you don't quite have other options like him. You don't have such a wealth of attackers. And make no mistake, the U.S.'s strongest position right now is on the wing and that sort of attacking midfield winger hybrid role. But they don't have so many of those players who are so talented you leave Gio Reyna off the roster entirely. So you'll want to see him come back, bought in. His father was the captain of the U.S. men's national team in the past, so there is program history there, and there also is that sort of indication that he has a good influence in his ear at home as well, and his mom was also a soccer player in her own right. So I would still keep him around. I see no reason not to. You want to believe that he'll be able to move past this and then just put all focus on 2026 and say we're going to prove everyone wrong at the next tournament. We're going to be on the best 11 and the team of the tournament. I think that's in play for him at age 23. He's just got to be able to take the right steps now, both with the program, but first and foremost with Dortmund, now that he's back at the club. Stay healthy, keep your head down, score your goals, get your assists. Good things happen from there.
Coach Rueter, we thank you for your time, and we thank you for your coverage of the World Cup. Take it easy, my man.
Take it easy, man. Absolutely.